Ramaswamy, firstly, if you can tell us what Vedanta is for the common man who does not know much about spirituality, how would you introduce it?
Technically, the term Vedanta consists of two terms, Veda and Anta, which refers to the end portion of Vedas, which refers to the Upanishads. So, Vedanta literally means Upanishads. But what is interesting is there is a pun on that word Vedanta. Anta, you can say, is the end or culmination, and Veda means knowledge. So, the culmination of all knowledge is Vedanta. So, that means what is the end of all knowledge? The end of all knowledge is the knowledge of one's own self, the real self, what you may call as Atma or anything. So, that is referred to as Vedanta. But from a common man's point of view, what we know about ourselves, what we believe ourselves to be as this body-mind complex, there is something beyond this which is not known to us now. So, that is referred to as your essential personality, and revealing that is the essential knowledge of Vedanta. And if you want to bring it even further down from a practical point of view, everybody in the world wants a little bit peace of mind and material prosperity. We see that in the world people get one at the cost of the other, meaning either people are active and productive but losing their sleep or peace of mind, or they are peaceful in their own way but not being extremely active or productive. So, either this or that is what we commonly see in this world. Let us say you take the entire Western population, in general I am saying, they are very productive and very prosperous, but from their own admission they are losing the peace of mind. When you see the divorce rates, when you see the crime rates, these are all indicators of the harmonious state of the mind which is not there. If you go to any villages here, people are generally peaceful, you will see a smile on their face, but not much activity, not much productivity. So, it is either this or that. How can we combine both? That you can say is the knowledge of practical Vedanta.
You're also the managing trustee of the institute. So how would you introduce the institute and what would you say is the objective of this institute?
Vedanta Institute Kolkata is a registered public charitable trust. It is based in Kolkata. So, every year what happens is that we invite Swamiji or his daughter disciple Sunandaji for the annual public lectures. This happens in all the cities in India and all over the world also, because we have such alumni stationed in all English speaking countries, in America, in Britain, in the Middle East, in Australia, in Singapore, Malaysia also, and apart from that in Chennai, Delhi, Bombay, Pune, everywhere. So, in order to arrange this, we need we need to collect funds, we need to publicize, we need to book the auditorium. So, a local institute or a local body, if it is there in each city, it helps. So, that is why Vedanta Institute Kolkata was formed to carry out the institute activities, which is mainly the annual public lectures, and those who are inspired and interested by it, they want to continue the studies in weekly basis, we do that. So, to support all those institute activities is what is the main objective of Vedanta Institute Kolkata also.
Also, there is an upcoming topic which is fate and free will. What is this topic all about?
Free will is a term, English term, which we may not have a direct a Sanskrit or Hindi translation. We can do Swadhin Ichcha, something like that, where my will, is it free, or is it somebody who has said, my life has to be like this only. This is a never ending debate actually. So, this topic we have chosen basically to bring out the clarity in the subject as far as possible, both for the speaker and the audience. That is the primary objective. And more importantly, anything that has to be practically applied in life. Suppose you say, why don't we take a topic like stress management or time management, work ethics, which you can say is directly applicable in a work environment or in a household, harmony in marriage. It's also a very nice topic, which will, you can say, which will directly benefit married couples, or how to mold your children, which will directly benefit the parents. No doubt these are also topics that we do take up from time to time and discuss. But anything that is practical has to be backed by a very strong theory. This is the law. So, if I have to bring about a change in my thought process, my thought has to be saturated with the right ideas, which will come by deeper understanding of the truthful concepts that are given here. So, that is the essential method of Vedanta. So, it is only exposing the seekers to the truth behind everything, as science would expose the truth behind everything. You do not believe the scientist, you have respect for the scientist. The scientist has given out the truths based on his experiments. Whether it is Newton, Einstein or Galileo, all great scientists, we can be respectful to them. But whatever they have said, you experiment in the laboratory to find out the truth for yourself. Similar is the approach that we are recommended for Vedanta, that the knowledge given in scriptures, which is an eternal science. So, the objective science explains about the world that you see. Here is a subjective science which is explaining about yourself. So, what is being talked about yourself, whether it is fate, whether it is free will, this type of a theory has to go deeper into your system. Only when it settles in your system, which is going to make about a practical change in your thought process. It may be a long term process, but that is how it has to be brought about. Such a change in the personality comes over a period of time, and that sets his path in the right direction. Irrespective of whether you meet God in this lifetime or not, your path is set in the right direction, and that is the assurance of Vedanta.
So this fate and free will talk, how is it going to affect our everyday life?
So, that is what it is. See, suppose if I am going to say that whatever actions you perform, ultimately you are responsible for the outcomes of that action. So, if a man feels stressed or if a man feels happy, you are responsible for both, is the theorem that is given. So, you make yourself, you mar yourself, this is the ultimate truth that Vedanta says. So, like scientific equations, these cryptic theorems are given as statements for us to contemplate and think about. Now, when we talk about this fate and free will, and we come to the conclusion, let us say that fate is something that whatever karma that you have done in the past is what has become your destiny now. So, whatever you undergo, you cannot blame anybody outside you. If this type of a thought process at least has got initiated into that person, whenever he encounters any problem, even at a practical level, let us say with his wife, with his boss in the office, or with his driver or anybody, if I am getting agitated about anything, the problem lies with me. I cannot blame anybody outside me. This thing will first strike him. So, he will be first of all at peace with this thought, so that he will at least stop blaming the external world for his happiness or misery. So, that onus or responsibility or the final accountability that one has to take, that is getting transferred to the individual.
And what about the attendants? Who can attend these talks that you are going to hold?
Basically, these talks are open for all and anybody can attend. But considering the terseness of the subject, we can say it will be appealing to anybody above the age of, I would say, 13, 14 or somebody who has a little bit logical mind, because what is given in Vedanta is purely scientific. It goes by logic and reason. It doesn't say do's and don'ts. There are no impositions.
If you can tell us what is the significance of Guru Purnima and what is the reason that it is celebrated?
There are various traditions, even in our own Vedantic traditions and Hindu traditions, there are various traditions. All of them accept and look up to this great sage called Vedavyasa, who is in the middle of this lineage. Sage Vedavyasa is considered to be the chief Guru who has codified the Vedas, who has given the Vedanta in the form of Brahma Sutra, who has written the Mahabharata, And the Hinduism as it is being practiced now, as we see, is chiefly attributed to the codes that he had formulated. So, he forms one of the key central figures in this entire parampara or lineage. So, the Vyasa Jayanti, Veda Vyasa Jayanti is celebrated on Vyasa Purnima, and that is considered as Guru Purnima. So, Guru Purnima is a day in which we remember all the great Gurus, sage Veda Vyasa, and in that lineage up to our Guru, each and every tradition up to their Guru, we pay homage to them, we remember their contribution, and we devotedly gather and pay our obeisance to them. And on this Guru Purnima day, it has been a tradition that this Vedantic knowledge is spread out by various teachers in their own way, and our Swamiji has been doing this unbroken for many decades now. So, we are also inspired by that. So, on the Guru Purnima actually falls on, I think, 13th of July, but we found a weekend, Saturday and Sunday on 2nd and 3rd. So, that is why the lecture is connected with Guru Purnima. So, each year we take up a topic and discuss about that. On that basis, Guru Purnima is celebrated by us also. In every way, people go and visit the Gurus, they offer whatever they want to offer, and they sing glories of the Gurus, they talk about certain subjects. In each and every way, they want to remember and pay their gratitude towards the Guru.
So, in the last 2 years, we've seen how coronavirus has taken over. For a long time, people have been under the same roof. So, materialistic needs have taken over, emotions have been set aside. So, how would Vedanta deal with something like this? What would you advise?
Whenever and wherever you see a stress or a problem or anything, you have to spot it internally. And what is really causing this problem is your uncontrolled emotions, or the mind, as you want to call it. That is why, in a way, mind is personified as the devil that is standing between man and God in all religions. Satan is not some external figure, or shaitan as they call in Islam. It is not an external figure, or asura. Symbolically, it represents your uncontrolled mind. That is causing see, you can have a perfect family. Let's say your husband is very good, your child is very good, your financial situation is very good, your house and everything is very good, yet you can feel extremely agitated. You can create a hell out of that heaven. On the other hand, this is what Milton also says in Paradise Lost. Mind in its own place can create a hell out of heaven and heaven out of hell. You can be in extreme slum with all filth around and no proper material amenities, yet you can feel happy inside. So, both these things only prove it is all depending on how you are able to train and channelize and keep your mind under control. Emotions is a virtue. Emotions you must have. If we don't have emotions, we are like plants. But we must not allow our decisions and actions to be guided by the emotions. Our decisions and actions must be from our buddhi or intellect. This is the most important lesson of practical Vedanta. And our Swamiji has been harping on this for the last 6 decades. Animals also have emotions, but what is the difference between an animal and a human being is, animal's life is computerized. It is well set in motion. Animal need not do anything apart from its life. It cannot do. Cow can be mild, meek, it will give milk, it is soft, that is eat grass, that's all. A tiger is ferocious, it will kill and eat. It has no choice. But a human being seems to have a choice. I can be as meek as a cow also, I can be as ferocious as a tiger also. So, since the choice is given, on what basis do we choose? The choice is based on my intellect or buddhi. That is why human being stands like this erect. Heart is here and head is here. Heart is the most important organ, because if heart is gone, you are gone. But heart should be under the control of the head. Heart, don't stifle it. Don't frustrate it, but you have to channelize that emotion, for which intellect has to be developed. Intellect does not develop automatically with age or with even your school education or university education. You get knowledge, you can get a job, you will get a living, you can earn a living out of it. That does not teach you how to handle your life. That does not teach you how to channelize your emotions. That does not teach you how to even apply the intelligence at the critical times. This requires what is known as the strength of intellect, and that is precisely what Vedanta gives. So, if basic lessons of Vedanta is given to students, particularly at a young age, I would say when they are going into the teens, and obviously the adults also, this will help them maintain their emotional balance. In each and every circumstance, they know how to relate with people. See, otherwise, how do you explain that a person takes so much time to choose a person and court that person and get into marriage? Very soon the divorce happens. How do we, and this is on an increasing note. We see the percentages very high in developed countries. Since we are developing, we are also developing that percentage also. Now, this is not something which is a very happy situation, right? Now, the question is, you are choosing so much time to choose a partner, but have you invested time? What is a mind? What is the nature of your mind? What is the nature of your intellect? How to develop that intellect? What is the material that is required to develop that intellect? And how that material, which is all given in a very terse and cryptic language like Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita and other thing, can be brought down to our contemporary thought and language. That I would say is one of the greatest contributions of our Swamiji, Swami Parthasarthi, that he has written simple books which is contemporary. See, what Adi Shankaracharya and others wrote in that time, in that language, it is the same thing that is presented in the modern time, so that anybody about the age of 10, 12, 14 can take it up and read and understand. That little bit of development of intellect is going to produce harmonious relationship, help you choose your career, handle money. You know how to earn money, but do you know how to handle money? You know how to build up your muscles, how to maintain that health throughout, how to exercise control over your senses. See, you can indulge in the senses, but if doctor says tomorrow you should not eat sweet, how do you like it? But there is a way by which at 95 I can say Swamiji is able to still relish a mango and eat it. It is a question of understanding these principles and applying it on yourself. This is where at the practical level also Vedanta helps.
So now we're also seeing among the children, there is a growing shift. There is a lot of focus on the digital world, in digital things like mobile phones and laptops. So how does Vedanta step in there? How do you plan to bring that change? Because it's no longer about Ramayana or Mahabharata or the Gitas. And this is a growing population. So how would Vedanta deal with this kind of a situation?
Right. Bhagavad Gita is Vedanta. Okay. And Ramayana and Mahabharata, which are all our itihasas, they are also conveying the same message, but in a form of big stories, which not only give the essential message of Vedanta, they also teach us characters and conduct and values and various other things. So it is very, very essential, as you rightly said. We had this a tradition of grandmother telling the grandchildren the stories. Nowadays, whether the grandparents themselves know, we do not know. Grandchildren don't have time also. They are having so much busy appointment and from, let's say, one basketball class to some other class, and they are moving and they just don't have time. So it is very sad that this type of a family oriented education system is also not as prevalent. Particularly we see also all these nuclear families and everything. Now the question is how to bring this knowledge to the level of the youngsters. One idea that is envisaged by our Swamiji is that, see, what is that the youngsters are looking for? They are looking forward to success, they are looking forward to career, they are looking forward to money, they are looking for, these are the, as you said also, there is a rat race that they, before we even realize, they are getting into it. Right. A person must invest some time to think about where he is going, what he is doing before he can even plunge into something. So the 3-year course at Vedanta Academy, which is for youngsters, is precisely that. Say, suppose if you are assuming that you send goods to somewhere, you insure that goods. That insurance is 10% or some amount you have to pay. Exactly like that. As an insurance premium for your life, you need to spend that 3 years as an insurance premium, which fits in, let us say, the shock absorber, Though any road that you can ride, that shock absorber will be able to absorb the shocks and it will keep your journey smooth. This is the knowledge of Vedanta. Now, for those who cannot commit to 3 years or something like that, I would say if the educational institutions and others, other institutions, schools, if they encourage, the way to inculcate this knowledge is by way of topics that will be useful and attractive to them also, but without compromising on the core principle, without compromising on the core knowledge, we can deliver the same in the sense of talk about self-management. That's what we try to do wherever we get a chance in corporate or schools or colleges also, because to be honest, taking this knowledge to educational institutions is also not that easy in this country. The origin of this knowledge is in this country, particularly in this state where we are also, I am saying, because immediately it is related with a religion, and then they talk about secularism, there is various things come up and it is difficult. So, wherever we get a chance, we are ready and we are forthcoming to pass on the knowledge, but there is an external resistance to it. So, how we are trying to say it is, whether a person belonging to any faith, be him a Buddhist or a Christian or a Islamist, a Muslim or a Hindu or anybody, everybody wants success, everybody wants their mind to be peaceful, and it is a technique. It does not come suddenly in a very haphazard way. It is scientific way. So, you need to understand the reason or logic behind it. So, in that way, the knowledge can be taken in the form of self-management, to talk them about success, about handling money, about the nature of mind, about the mental temperaments, how to measure your personality, how to deal with corruption, what are the work ethics. These are the topics which are applicable and common for all, and with the base which is given in Bhagavad Gita, which is given in the Upanishads, you can bring such topics to them, and I would say at a very young age, you can always definitely introduce the knowledge of Ramayana, Mahabharata and stories, because stories is a very powerful form of communication. When we talk about even Gandhi heard Harishchandra's story, then the thought that I must be always truthful is deeply implanted in his mind. So, stories have that impact even in a very young child, even in everybody's mind, and everybody is interested also in stories, right? So, therefore, we also have classes for kids from ages 5 onwards, where you introduce chanting, singing, little bit stories, little bit pranayama, a way by which they can be kept engaged for about an hour or so, and this is the way to take this knowledge forward. I would say even media like this, if you are able to highlight this aspect of it, and there we are not saying we are the only institution, there can be other similar institutions and other inspired people who are themselves trained like this. There are enough sources to take this forward in the modern contemporary thought and language.